So Chaunte, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You've accomplished so much in your career. You've been to 4 Olympics, you've won an Olympic medal, multiple world championships, you've set 2 American records that still stand today.
Yeah.
You've raised a family, and of course, you've beaten cancer. There's so much already that you have done with your life, and now this next phase of your career, just this next challenge you're taking on, Living Benefits Awareness Month spokesperson, the first one ever.
Yeah.
It's got to be what does that mean to you to be the very first spokesperson for this cause?
Well, to be the first of anything, a trailblazer, I'm just playing.
Absolutely. I mean, you really are.
I'm just playing. No, it means a lot because it's such an important cause. It's an important mission. And to be able to be part of it is something that I know that I'm never going to forget. And I'm taking it personal. Like, okay, I have to own this. Let's do this and do it to the best of our ability. Set the bar so high that like literally nobody else that ever comes after me is going to be able to light a torch to it. No, I'm just playing.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's an amazing cause. Obviously one that's dear to my heart and to our hearts at Alliance Group. So why is it so important to you that everyone hear this message about living benefits?
Because the reality is the likelihood of needing living benefits in your lifetime is very high. The statistics prove it. We've talked about that before. But the fact that any type of critical illness, heart attack, cancer, the things that you hear the people that are in your life going through every single day is something that's going to cause that financial hardship and burden on your life. And so, we all know the benefits of having a life insurance policy, but adding the living benefits factor into that ensures that if you have one of those qualifying events, you'll have the money to be able to fight any way that you deem possible and be able to protect your family financially throughout the process.
You've obviously been through this journey yourself.
Yeah.
So to talk about what having something there financially for you can do for your mindset if you are going through a battle with cancer as you did.
Yeah, it was a huge surprise for me. I'm healthy, I'm young, I'm like the best shape of my life.
Right.
Cancer.
An Olympic athlete.
And cancer was probably the last thing on my mind. I was in my 30s. The rest of my life was in front of me. So it's something that I never thought. And to be honest with you, if I didn't work as an agent, I probably would have never even gotten a life insurance policy. Because it's something I didn't know about. Not because I didn't see the importance of it, but because I just didn't know. Right. And that's why Living Benefits Awareness Month is so important, because you can no longer say you don't know. But I did have those living benefits in my plan. And immediately when I got that diagnosis, I started thinking about the financial burden of that fight. Like, you think about the mental, the emotional, the things that you will physically have to do, but financially life still goes on. The bills still come. You still have to keep a roof over your head. You still have to have the transportation, but now you have the added stressors of going through a treatment plan and paying for it. Insurance doesn't cover everything.
Right.
And so when I went through that journey myself and I realized, oh my gosh, I have this life insurance policy with living benefits, that weight was taken off of me. And I never expected that. I never expected to use my life insurance policy in my lifetime and be able to have that clarity of mind to be able to fight with everything that I have with all of my strength, because I was no longer stressed about that financial burden.
It's something that, we've done several testimonial videos. We've interviewed several people who have received living benefits, and that seems to be a recurring theme. They all say, look, I was already going through a lot with this heart attack I just suffered, or with this cancer diagnosis that I just been handed. And there's already so much on your mind, on your plate, on your soul. And to be able to have all the financial burden removed from that equation, it really makes a huge impact in those situations.
Yeah, we're not talking dollars and cents. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars that you'll be able to have access to. That type of money in any situation is life-changing, but especially in a critical moment where you are facing so much uncertainty and you don't know what to expect around the corner. Just to be able to have that safety net is monumental.
Yeah, I want to kind of go back to something you said earlier. You talking about, cancer, heart attack, stroke, major organ transplant, blindness, paralysis, coma, all these things and more are covered with living benefits. But people still suffer from this kind of thing that, like, I know that this happens to people and they can see all the stats and everything like that, but it's not going to happen to me.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen to me. But you talk about how you would probably be the last person to think that you would ever be hearing that, you have a cancer diagnosis.
Yeah. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I wasn't overweight. I worked out 4 to 8 hours every single day. Literally thought it was the last thing on my mind. There was no history of breast cancer in my family. So I figured my life insurance policy is something that my kids would have to be able to pass a legacy on to them. Or if I didn't live long enough, then they'd be able to go to college, the house would be paid for, all those things. But never once did I think it's something that I would utilize in my life. And even getting the, the living benefits, I was like, that's whatever, But the reality is this. It's one of those things that people are saying, well, it will never happen to me. And if it does, I'll find a way to deal with it. Mm-hmm. But they're not understanding the amount that something like that could cost them. And then on top of that, when you get into a situation like that, you think that you could just go buy it. Mm-hmm. And the reality is no. If you find yourself in that situation, it's already too late. You no longer qualify. It's something you can't do. So you have to be forward thinking to be able to put something like that in place, or the protection in place, so that if it happens, you're already covered and you don't have to worry about it.
That is the challenge with getting people to sit up and listen about living benefits. Is we have to make sure that we impart upon them. You have to do this now. You can't wait till something happens. It technically is. Living benefits are life insurance. Yeah. You have to qualify for this plan, and that means you have to be healthy. You can't apply for this solution after the problem has already happened, right? Absolutely. So it really is kind of getting them to have that foresight and do that preparation ahead of time.
Yeah, and then you kind of have to reprogram your mind. You're thinking about the old type of life insurance. You're not thinking about this new type of life insurance that has these benefits while you're living. Yeah. So you have to change that preconceived notion and know that this is different. This is better. It's a no-brainer and something that everyone actually needs.
The old kind of life insurance, as we like to call it, the old kind of life insurance that only pays out if you die. Yeah. Living benefits policy costs the same.
Yeah.
So when we say that it's, if somebody already has a life insurance policy and they're thinking, oh, well, can I add living benefits? It's not going to cost them anything in most cases to just switch over to the new kind. And in that case, it's not costing you anything to make this decision. That's really the important part of that people need to understand.
No, absolutely. 100%.
So Chaunte, as someone who has fought your own battle with cancer and prevailed, what message do you have for somebody who might be watching this, who's in the midst of their own battle?
One of the first things that we found is that early detection is our best asset towards fighting any type of cancer. And so one of the first things I would say is listen to your body. Right. Take that time to dedicate yourself to self-care, and then listen to the signals that your body's giving you. Go to the doctor and then be your own advocate. That's something that you hear all the time, but being your own advocate allows you to not keep pursuing answers until you are satisfied. And sometimes we're having to find in our medical system that you have to fight for those answers.
To be your own advocate.
Be your own advocate. Mm-hmm. But then you have to, if you are facing this diagnosis, it's so easy to be drained emotionally, mentally, physically, but then also give up hope. Just to think that, it's like the olden days. As soon as you get a cancer diagnosis, it's a death sentence. And that's not necessarily true. Mm-hmm. And so it's very, very important to inject yourself with hope. Read the stories of people who have successfully battled that cancer, right, but know that there has been so many advancements in treatment options that you have a wide array of options. And that's why this is so important, because not all of those options that have proven successful or can increase your quality of life, the value of your life, or the length of your life are covered under insurance. Right. So the technology is prevailing sometimes faster than the health insurance companies are able to keep up. Mm-hmm. And with that case, there might be a cutting edge technology or treatment plan that you might have to pay for out of pocket, but they do exist. And so it's important to be able to set yourself up financially, right, so that you can take those options if you need it. Because honestly, when it comes to your life, there's no amount of money that you wouldn't be willing to give to save your life. And so this kind of helps with that.
So we talk about health insurance not being the end all beat all. There are many cases in this country where health insurance, if you have a cancer diagnosis, it might not always cover everything, right?
Yeah, that's true. Because when I was working in the financial services industry, one thing that I found interesting is that over 50% of all bankruptcies were attributed to health-related bankruptcies. And the crazy thing about that statistic is that the majority of those people actually had health insurance in place. So that's why something like living benefits is so important, because that kind of bridges that gap where there might be treatment options that the patient may want to take part in, but it might not be covered by the insurance. And it helps them fall out of that statistic and not become victim towards bankruptcy.
We've called it the epidemic of medical bankruptcy. It's been happening in this country for decades. And it's just nobody's really talking about it enough. People think that, well, I have my health insurance, just like I have my car insurance. I have my car insurance, so if I get in an accident, car insurance is going to cover it. I have homeowners insurance. If my house burns down, it's going to be covered. That's why I have the insurance. And they think that the same thing is the case when it happens to their health. If I have cancer, then health insurance is going to cover it. And while that can be the case sometimes, as we've seen and as you've seen, it's not always the case.
No, it's not. And those bills could pile up quite quickly, because you're going to want to do everything. You're going to throw everything and the kitchen sink at this diagnosis to make sure that you could live longer. And so it's something that it could completely derail your plans for your life. And let's say you do win, let's say you do beat it, and then you're left with this big giant mess. So it's better to be proactive, protect against it, and know that you actually have options, but you have them now while you're healthy.
Chaunte, talk about what it's going to be like. I mean, as you go through this role of being the spokesperson, you are going to impact some lives with this. I mean, if even, you were saying yesterday, if even just one person gets a living benefits plan, and God forbid something happens to them and they're able to access money, that's changing a life. And you have the potential to really impact some lives here. How does that feel?
I'm incredibly honored. And to be honest, I've already had that one person, come up to me and share with me how being a spokesperson in this role has already impacted them.
Wow.
And I think that it's not even just the person. It's not that person's life. You're changing generations, because that debt could fall onto their kids. It could reduce the amount of inheritance that they're able to leave, their legacy. And so it's very, very important to me to know that, we are changing generations, and it really does take acting on it now. And I guess I'm kind of humbled by the whole entire experience, because if I wouldn't have had it, like even now, I personally had the weight lifted off of me from having the policy, but I didn't have to activate it, which means even going forward, I still have that protection. And so I understand the value of it more now that I'm able to be part of this.
Wow, that's awesome. So Chaunte, if somebody's watching this, how can they participate in LBAM? What are those actions that you are urging them to take today?
The first thing I would say is make sure that you have coverage yourself. And some of you might be thinking, well, I already have a policy, I already have a plan in place. You need to go back and look at it and make sure it's the new type of policy that includes all of these great benefits that we're talking about, because you don't want to assume that you have it and then need it and then not have it. So make sure that you have it. The next thing is you don't hold this information towards yourself. Look around your circle, find the people that you love and care about, and make sure that they also have their policies in place. Share this information. I'm even talking about the little ones. Get these policies on your kids. And then the final thing is to make sure that you have all the information, that you're armed. Don't say, oh, there's something good about this. Make sure that you know this information, educate yourself. Go to livingbenefits101.com and then share it broad and wide. And that's what I would say to do.
Well, on behalf of Alliance Group and everyone's lives who this is going to touch, Chaunte, thank you so much for being our first ever LBAM spokesperson.
You said it wrong. You meant best ever.
Oh, yeah. Best. Can't wait to work with you, and can't wait to see the results of your work and what we're able to do together.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And like I said, it's an extreme honor, and I can't wait to see you.
Awesome.